Right, we're here, everybody. We got it. We made it. We made it. Zoom likes to give us a test every now and again, but we're here. Good morning to you all. Hello, hello. What day is it today? It's Thursday. It's Thursday. So we'll just we'll allow some of you to jump on in. And those of you jumping on, give us a wave. Let us know who's there. I know a few of you were really interested in this chat with Peter, so we're excited to have you here, but let us know who you are. Hey, Em, good to see you. All right, so we've got Peter here today with us. So as hopefully you know by now, every month there is a range of different events that I do in here. Some I do myself. Some I get other experts or speakers to come on in and chat about what their zone of genius is, whatever that may be. And my goal is that it's something of benefit to you as wonderful, committed, busy parents, as women, as men. So today is no different. We've got Peter here who is going to be chatting about this world of decluttering. So Peter's really great at combining how to declutter our environment to therefore declutter our mind. So that's what we're going to be kicking off into today. So good morning, Peter. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me and inviting me, and welcome to everybody that is jumping on. I can't wait to get stuck into this and answer your questions.
It's a great topic, actually. I've had a few people say, you know, since the Christmas break, right, our homes have just increased with stuff. But I guess, Peter, what I'd like to start off with from you is, you know, what is the very foundation of this decluttering? You know, how did you get into it? Why are you working in this world of decluttering? Why is it worth looking at?
Well, it's an interesting question because I have often asked myself that question many times in my life, but I think fundamentally it comes down to that we just have too much unnecessary stuff, and it becomes an addiction. And it's the more we get, the worse almost our life becomes. I know that might sound really strange, but less really is more, and it opens us up to receiving abundance in so many other ways. And I don't mean just materialistically, but I mean financially, emotionally, spiritually, in all of that. And in those, I guess, avenues, we are exposing ourselves to more of it, and we're not inclined to be focused on, I guess, the impulses that clutter can create in our lives. You know, it's like if something's going on up here, chances are it's affected the whole of our lives. I'm doing this because I'm in my own home doing this, and it's true because it does. It affects every area of our life. You know, the clutter here. So that's why I like dealing with things holistically, and working out what's going on for somebody. So first, because otherwise you can clear it and then it'll just come back again.
Sure. So how do we, you know, what is clutter anyway? What is clutter?
Yeah, clutter is basically stuff we don't need and a lot of it. So we might have, I don't know, 14 garlic presses. We might have, 17 sets of steak knives. I mean, we might have Aunt Beth's tea set from the 1700s, and plus also Aunt Jo's and Aunt Victoria's and Aunt everybody's. And of course, it's things that have also been passed down that we feel obligated to keep. Which just don't serve us. So it's really, clutter is everything we don't need. We need very little. This is the thing, but you know, we're constantly, the marketing messages are constantly coming at us. You know, you'll be happier when, you know, you get this. You'll be happier when you do this. And it's like, okay.
So when we look at clutter for kids, then is it the same? Does clutter mean
100%
for kids?
100%. And in fact, their poor little brains aren't capable of dealing with clutter and when I say as well as we can, we don't deal with it well at all, but our brains have stopped developing, but theirs hasn't. They're in a really crucial stage of their lives. And I must admit that what started me into this whole journey of decluttering was about 15 years ago, when my son was 2. And I found that the older he was getting, the less inclined he was to play independently, the more anxious he appeared to be becoming. He was often irritable, wouldn't play on his own. He often just wanted to be around me and play with me. And of course, this cycle made me start to wonder what was going on for him. And he happened to be at his cousin's birthday party. And I walked past his bedroom and I looked into the bedroom and I just saw this sea of toys. And I was like, what? I've got hours. Excuse me, I'm going to have to grab a tissue. Sorry. I've got hours to, ahead of me to clean up this mess. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know what it was, but the penny just dropped. And I just went, is all of this stress and tension and his inability to be able to focus, to play on his own, is it the toys? So I literally cleared them. I cleared 80% of his toys.
Okay. All right. And drum roll. What was
I know. Well, when he came home, I must admit I was quietly, I won't use the S word, but I was quietly, concerned that he would have a heart attack.
Sure.
I just took him up to his room and I said to him, look, I've got rid of quite a few of your toys, but I said, I want you to know they're under the house, they're in storage, but I just moved them out. And he went around, he just had this whopping big smile on his face and he was walking around opening the drawers, and it's like he was seeing his toys for the first time, the ones that I kept.
Okay.
And I noticed a massive change in the weeks, because I kept the toys in the basement underneath my house, just in case.
Yeah.
He not only didn't notice, I think there were 2 or 3 things that he asked where they were. And so I went down and I found them and I bought them up for him, but not all at once, just one at a time. And then anything that came out or anything that came into his toy room, I then took something out. So he still wasn't overwhelmed by toys. But the long and the short of it was that he started to play on his own for hours, just immersing himself in
Wow.
I did keep a lot of open-ended toys, admittedly. So when I say a lot, I'm talking maybe 5 or 6 open-ended toys. So train tracks, figures, his animals, things that he could create with just a limited amount of things, but could create a lot of things with them.
Sure.
So and he became a lot more focused, a lot less irritable, much less anxious. He knew exactly when and how to clean up. I showed him once how to do it, or twice, and where things went. He was like, at the end of the day, he just put all his things away and he was calmer. It was extraordinary. It really was.
Yeah. Wow. So, something as powerful as that, it's no wonder that you realize the power of decluttering, right? That's
100%.
So I guess what do you get to see a lot of the time in families, Peter? What do you hear from parents in terms of clutter? What are the main issues or concerns? Why would any of this be a problem? What do you get to hear?
I get a lot of people, or a lot of my clients tell me they feel overwhelmed. That's the biggest, comment that I hear. Overwhelmed. Stressed is another one. I think overwhelmed and stress are equal parts. Anxious, I hear a lot of people say that they're anxious, and ironically, I hear a lot of people say that the toys that they do own, their kids never, and this is not a word of a lie, ever hardly play with them. And the ones that they do play with, the kids are always arguing if that one of them picks up a toy that the other one wants, and they can't see, there's nothing, they can only focus on that one thing. And it's interesting because kids fight a lot. They don't know how to get along well together, because they're not, the toys are preventing them from working together on something together. If that makes sense. They're distracted by, I guess, they're bored, they don't know what to do with it. I mean, I don't know. I can talk all day about this stuff. Sorry, I'm going on and on about it, but I love it. It's like when you go to a shopping center. I don't know if any of your listeners can relate to this, but when you go into a shopping center and you're looking for, I don't know, let's say a cereal, right? And you've got like lines and lines and lines of them. And you're looking at them just going, all I want is something natural without colors and preservatives. And you have to find yourself just feeling overwhelmed and anxious and stressed. And you just go, oh Christ, that'll do. And
I walk out with nothing, literally. That happens to me all the time.
You walk away. Well, kids are no different. They look at their toys and they feel completely overwhelmed by them.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. That makes a whole world of sense. And so I guess where's your first steps, Peter? So if we're about to, tackle this world of decluttering and we feel like, I want to give this a go. This is something that I think would make a difference. Where's our starting point? What do we need to think about? Where do we start?
Well, for a lot of people, clutter is so overwhelming, they don't know where to start. So I suggest you start in probably the most problematic area of your home. Now, often that is not necessarily, I guess, the bedroom or the toy room, but it's the area in the house that you spend so much time in. So that's probably the kitchen. And I would start there, or the living room. And living rooms, ironically, can be one of the easiest areas to declutter. Now, another issue that a lot of my clients say is that they just don't have time to declutter. So which is, let's talk about the kind of clutter of being busy all the time. That's another area of clutter that I deal with. But I say, all right, if you're so busy, you can nominate 5 minutes. Okay. So you pull out a drawer, and in the top drawer, like choose the cutlery drawer. In the top drawer, you'll say, okay, well, just go through it really quickly. Set your timer for 5 minutes and just literally speed through it and pull the stuff out that you're never going to use, you don't want to use, you don't like, and chuck it into a box. Then when your timer goes off, if you feel like you're all enthusiastic and you want to do a bit more, keep going.
Sure.
Finish it off and clean out your drawer and put everything back in. And that's one drawer done. Then the next day, do another drawer in the same area. Don't go to another part of the house because you won't notice the difference. Stick with your drawers and then finish all 5 or 6 drawers that you've got, like napkins or, the junk drawer. Oh my God.
There's always one of those. Usually it's the bottom drawer or the second bottom drawer, it's usually that one.
Yeah, we'll go through it and clear it out and just do, just pull out a handful of stuff and go through that one handful of stuff and then chuck the rest of it that you're going to keep back in and then go through it again and again until you finish that whole junk drawer.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I love junk drawers. I haven't got one personally, but look, they're great for tape measures, matches, batteries, things like that you need to have on hand. So look, I'm all for them, but just you can't often see what's in them. So, keep only what you need and only what you use. This is another thing. Don't keep anything you don't use.
Yeah.
Then do the whole of the kitchen. So in the month that you've got 5 minutes or 15 minutes every day, your whole kitchen will be decluttered within a month.
Yeah. And I like that it's just 5 minutes. Set the timer so at least your brain knows there's an end point. That means, your stress of worrying about all of the other tasks, your mind's at rest. Great. And I guess, an important thing to bring up, Peter, probably are all the feelings and emotions that come up when we do this. So I know that, when I've gone to throw out things that are either years old or, I bought it at a certain time of my life and it reminds me of this, but is there any purpose of it right now? No. Could I just have the memory in my mind? Absolutely, I could. And it's just creating clutter. So there is a bit of fear and there is a bit of, maybe I'll forget that happy moment, or maybe I'll need that for the future. That's a really good one too. That's a really good one. I have kept, what was it? I've had this toothbrush, right? This travel toothbrush. Now I know I need to get rid of it. It's got to go. It's got to go. But I keep, no, I might need it for the future. No, I might need it for the future. And I was like, Jess, just let the toothbrush go. It needs to go. So I put it in the bin. And of course, it's more motivation for me to get the right one when I need it. Right. But so, and that's just a minor example, but sometimes we've got these things that have a lot of meaning and attachment to it. And then that's also interesting to notice what our mind is attached to in that moment and where that comes up in other areas of our life. But that's another kettle of fish. But so what about all these fears, Peter? Let's talk about what comes up for your clients and how do you navigate those with them?
Well, it's interesting. I'll start on perhaps the I guess the ones that the items that we have that we attach memories to, like you were saying about your toothbrush. So really, memories aren't our things. We think they are, but they're not. But the memory of a loved one can be triggered by keeping just one or two special things that remind you of them, instead of keeping the whole box full of stuff that you never use or look at. And it doesn't mean that you remember or love them any less or any more. It just means that they're there weighing heavily on your shoulders. It's, it's feelings of guilt or that you shouldn't get rid of them. So it can be said that choosing to let go of these items won't make you love or miss them any less, but it actually will make you feel better, because the items that you do keep, you can put somewhere special and you can look at them every day, or perhaps even use them. So one of the members in our group, she has a tea set that I think she said her great aunt gave her. And she uses that tea set regularly for friends. And she said she feels like she's having tea with her great aunt. It's really sweet. So absolutely, if you're going to use it, but choose your favorites and enjoy them. Don't let them live in a box in a closet that you never look at. So by the solution here is by bringing a few meaningful things out that you can see daily is a way to keep cherished people and their memories present in your life. So that's what I would recommend for that. And you can take photos too. Look, some people, particularly things that you're keeping from your children when they were kids, take photos of them and put them in a book. Because at the end of the day, your kids won't want them. I promise you that. So don't, let them have to, declutter, I guess, the heirlooms type thing that you're hanging on to, because that's quite heavy for children to go through after your death. I like that where we've got the whole box of things and we just bring out the ones that bring up a really beautiful memory of that one person. 100%. If it's got to do with a person. I remember watching a movie on minimalism, and I really liked one of the suggestions they gave. They said every time you walk into your home, each thing you've got around you, it should create joy. It should create joy and purpose. So the purpose is a really good one.
Joy and purpose.
Because look, to be honest, a lot of things you can tag on saying, well, they bring me joy, and it may be a little bit misguided, that joy. You might think it does, but it actually can end up weighing quite heavily on you. So I'm careful of using that word, but purpose, absolutely 100%.
Yeah. And I think that helps me when I think about what I'm going to keep. So but I could use the combo joy and purpose though. It needs to be purposeful. Have I used it in the last week? Have I used it in the last month? Have I used it in the last 6 months? That's it's a pretty good indicator. We don't change our habits that much as humans. So if you haven't used it in the last couple of months, safe to say you just might not need that thing. Or,
100%. And you
creatures of habit.
100%. And you mentioned earlier on about keeping something just in case. Well, I promise you, just in case rarely ever comes. It's actually really well studied that most of the things we hang on to just in case I might need it someday will actually never be used. And if someday does come and you really need that item, you can always borrow it from a friend or a neighbor or even a community support group. There's plenty of Facebook groups, community groups. And often if you reach out and say, listen, I really need, that carving dish the baking dish that I threw out. I've got a bunch of friends over and I don't have enough. Chances are someone will lend it to you.
Yeah. That's nice. And that's connecting with people as well, which is nice.
100%.
We need more of that at the moment anyway.
Oh, totally.
I think I'd like to touch on, I get what it creates in the mind, Peter. So, for me, one of the things that I remember a mentor saying to me, when we clean out our clothes, particularly, right? I know I needed to do a big closet clean out. And, one of her suggestions was to me, well, when you take the old out, you make room for the new. Right, we're taking old out and then we're creating space, not just physical space, but energetic space.
Energetically.
It's energetically creating that. So let's talk about, what is it inviting in? What are the possibilities? How does this work in with our mind and our energy?
That's a really good point. I think one of the areas that I would always look at is distraction. It's much less distraction. So when you're less distracted on on items around the house, you're more inclined to be able to focus on the immediate, the right now, and then in that immediate plan for something else, in the future. When I say in the future, for tomorrow. So it also increases our creativity and imagination. We're not, again, it's, I think too, it's worth touching on what clutter can do to our bodies, because it increases cortisol level, because clutter actually makes us quite stressed. And the more cortisol we have going through our body, the less likely we're going to be able to see any possibilities for a future, because we're so focused on what is now around us.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, the trigger of that. So I've been doing a course, and it's just reminded me of, the attention span of the brain and how the brain operates. So, we know that the unconscious mind is taking in billions of pieces of information every second. So billions every second. Now it's only able to process about 2,000 pieces of those billions. So when you've got this cluttered environment, we think, we're not, it's not really having an impact on us. However, like with your son,
it's so easy.
Your son is a really clear example that all of his unconscious was really taking all that in, right? It really was. It was collecting all of what's around me, what's going on. Do I need to worry about this? All of that. And we do this in our homes, but we can't process all of it, but it still stresses us out unconsciously. It still creates clutter in the mind.
Yeah, but it manifests physically though. Even though we don't make that connection, it actually manifests physically. So we might seem more tired or overwhelmed or stressed or irritable or anxious. I mean, I can go on and on with the list of things that clutter actually does to our minds, our bodies. And I know this might sound crazy, but clutter actually can create what's called cortisol maladaptation. So that means that we are talking of the subconscious impact. The subconscious, as you say, is processing rapid amounts of information all the time. And what happens is our body subconsciously is reacting or consciously reacting to it and flooding our systems full of cortisol, which is just, it's terrible. It causes inflammation. It causes heart problems. It causes being overweight. It also creates addictions, because we're trying to avoid the impact of all this cortisol. So we go and do something to try and suppress the stress. So we'll go and shop online and bring more clutter into the house.
We're so clever, aren't we, as humans? We really are. Gosh, we've really got it together. We've got it together.
I'm really glad that we do, because otherwise I'd be out of a job.
Yeah, I know, you and me both. And it's interesting with your son, Peter. So when we think about children, one of the things that I go through with my clients a lot of the time when there's any like focus difficulties or learning difficulties, when we've got a lot of cortisol in our body, that actually prevents information going to our long-term memory. So and this could be one simple thing that you could try at home. This is it. This could be the one simple experiment over the next couple of days to see if this has that really big impact that you've been searching for your kids.
Sure.
So what I'd love to know in the comments, for those of you watching, by the way, send your questions through if you've got any questions or comments. I think Alicia's asked you how old your son was when you did take the toys out, Peter.
He was 2 years and 3 months.
Yeah.
Exactly. I remember it very clearly.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm curious, with those of you watching, who's interested in experimenting with this. I think this is such a great experiment to see if this works, how it works. If you start in the kitchen, if you start in the kids' room and do what Peter did and get all those toys and junk out. Who in the comments is ready for an experiment and to see if it works?
While we've got people waiting to jump in and ask these questions, I want to just highlight, I did a survey of 67 clients' homes after I'd been in and I decluttered, particularly their toy rooms. And I, from the survey, I'll just read it out to you. This is, these are all the percentages that we put into a system that was able to calculate this. But 76% of households noticed less, that they were all less stressed. 81% were less overwhelmed. 84% were happier. 87% were more focused. 88% were calmer. 74% were much more inquisitive. The children were more inquisitive. 76 more cooperative play together as siblings. 89% were more creative. These are kids. And 87% of children increased their independent play.
Wow.
By 87%. I mean, this is why I do this, because I took all of the, and these were all homes that were literally one after the other that I collated. I gave them the survey and said, look, it would really help me understand what's going on in your home. And if this is having as much impact in yours as it had in mine. And it was staggering, absolutely staggering.
Oh, with those percentages, Peter, I'm ready to go back up now and leave the office and go clean out my big cupboard. I'm ready.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm motivated. Anybody else motivated? Anybody else? Anybody else? So Callie's just said husband clutter. Callie, I don't know if you mean a hubby. I know he works away, but his clutter, maybe you get a chance to clean out his clutter.
Who asked that question? Because I'm not on your Facebook page.
So Callie, so I'm just looking at the in the Facebook group here. So Calliope is the name on Facebook, Peter.
Okay, so I want to touch on that a little bit, because men on a whole are not impacted by clutter, and they honestly, a lot of the clients that I've spoken to have said, oh yeah, no, just don't worry about it. It's just it's just stuff. We'll use it one day, just in case. It's no harm in keeping it. But they're not the ones that are home all the time looking at it. They're often, the mother, and I don't mean to be gender specific here or sexist in this comment, but the thing is that mums we're at home more than men are. They're often out, which is horrible for equality and working women, but this is the fact. And of course, women are and this is scientific research I'm talking about. Women are far more susceptible to having overproduction of cortisol in their body because they're exposed to it so much more. But here's the really interesting thing. I read this research, I think it was Harvard research, because I read a lot of their stuff on clutter. And they said that when men were exposed to it and forced to deal with it, their cortisol levels increased while they were having to deal with clutter. So perhaps share some of that information with your husband, because truly, I think it's really important that men get on board with this and understand the impacts and the implications that it has on a family.
Yeah, look, I think there's very different ways that we think, isn't there? And as women, we tend to take in the whole room, and they're very focused on their goal and what they need to achieve, which is beautiful, and it's a beautiful combination and it's required. But we do tend to have a brain that thinks a little differently, and that plays into that, Peter. Absolutely, what you've just said. So I guess Em's in. She's just commented, Peter. She's moving the kids' toys next. Great, Em. She's also just started cleaning the study. That's good. And yeah, Callie's going to start getting the toys out. Perfect. That's good.
I
That's
highly
good.
recommend that you
Yeah,
do.
get
And
it done.
get a I don't know how old are your children, can she say?
So we've got, Kelly's got a 5 or 6 year old, 4, 5. Yeah. And then also a 2-year-old.
Okay, so this is perfect. So I would incorporate, and I do this with all my clients, when I set up their toy rooms, I make sure that all the toys that they have out now for that age group, I'd probably keep perhaps 6 to 8 toys only, and make sure they're not toys that make lots of noises. They're not battery operated. They're not one only sense, because the child literally picks it up, hears it, and then throws it away, because there's nothing. You can take the batteries out of it if you like. Say it's a mobile phone, take the batteries out of it, and then the child will pretend to have a conversation with somebody on the other end, which is perfect. It becomes then much more open-ended, but take the batteries out of it. So it allows for that open-ended, opportunity, and create, they can create, and, they can explore their creativity and imagination with it far more than if it's got a battery in it.
Yeah.
And also bring into their space one thing that they can do every day that is different from the day before. So you could either bring in a toy, like it's a special toy, it's only there for that day, and you take that toy away, or bring a box in, okay, a cardboard box, some sticky tape or tape, and give them something to build. I mean, honestly, that you could easily build that, and don't tell them what to do with it, because they'll figure it out for themselves. They'll become a lot more creative, and a lot more, they'll use their imaginations, and they'll do exactly what we did as kids. Like they didn't set us with a 6-page manual of how to build a castle. We just built it.
Yeah, that's true. And we do need to get back to the play. That really, I mean, it's number one fundamental aspect to child development. So we do need to get back to that, and that creativity. So you mentioned that 6 to 8 toys for that age group, Peter. Have we got any other guidelines for any other ages as just start suggestions for people?
Anything under 2, maximum 2 toys. They don't need more than that. Again, make it open-ended. But one thing I will, talking of clutter now, and the impact that it has on children and their creativity and imagination, this applies to babies from 6 weeks of age. Do you know that, all those toys that they put up for them to play with, and they get bored really easily with them? Okay, so their whole room is what they just let them take in the room. Give them a leaf, and when I say a leaf, I mean, you've got to be careful they don't poke themselves in the eye. Not at 6 weeks, perhaps, but when they start getting a bit older, say that 4-month age mark, start giving them something that's much more tactile, and they'll play with it for ages. Just let them, immerse them in different things and simple things. It could also be a wooden spoon from your drawer. It could be a spatula. It could be, like a plastic cup. You could put some rice into something, like the drink bottle cups, and let them, like a little one, those little popper ones, and let them shake it. That's all they need. You don't need to buy them toys.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know, I just want to tap on this. Do you know Maya Angelou? Do you know? No. She's incredible. Anyway, she's no longer alive, but you might recognize this, that people won't remember what you do for them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
I love that quote.
Children are no different. Don't buy them a whole lot of stuff that they'll forget about. Take them out, do things with them, let them play on their own. These are all creating memories, and special memories. Toys, I promise you, I don't know if anybody that remembers what toy they were bought at 10 in 1976, or actually I was older than that then, but in 1976, I don't remember what I got for Christmas, but I do remember what we did. So that's what's important.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that in, Peter. That's a really great reminder. So as we wrap up, Peter, is there anything that you feel like your final piece of wisdom, or the best tip you've got, or something we haven't covered, anything that you feel.
Anything that I feel. Oh, it's got to be good. I'm trying to think of something. Look, I'd just hark back that less is more. Perfect. I mean, honestly, it really is. Just let go of the stuff. Stop being suckered into consumerism and purchasing crap you don't need. It's not going to make you feel any better. It's going to make you feel worse. And look, I'll tell you something that I did with a client. So this client was pretty comfortable financially. So I said to her, she would buy stuff all the time. So I said, I want you to start, when you go shopping next, or you go to sit down online, don't buy any of it. But what I want you to do is put that money into a bank account and don't touch it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then after a year, let's see how much is in there. Mm-hmm. Well, you guys will never guess what was in there. It was
I do want to know.
It was like $26,000. Wow. I mean, you have no idea how much people spend on toys and stuff for their kids. Do you know what she did? She took her family to Canada skiing and created memories. Okay, so not all of us has the money to spend $26,000 a year, but we might spend $4,000 or $5,000. You might be surprised just how much we do spend. That $4,000 or $5,000 could be a camping trip for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a perfect point. Perfect point. Less is more. So less stuff, more holidays. I like it.
That's more memories. Yes. More memories.
More memories. That's right. Yeah, that's a perfect way to end. Perfect. So I really appreciate you coming in here, Peta, because I think this is it's a good wake up call, actually. I think this is a topic that it doesn't get spoken about, but it's really, the impacts can be quite great, and you've inspired me. So this afternoon I'm going to start on my cupboard. Thank you. And I'll take a before and after picture. I'll send it to you. So those of you watching as well, state what you're going to start on, and I want to see before and after pictures, or hear how you've gone. We both do, so let us know. But for those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. And Peta, it's been great having you here.
Thank you. Can I just lastly say that if you guys want to join me in my group, you're welcome to. I can put the link in the comments box.
Perfect. For all of your decluttering needs, that'd be great, Peta. Thank you. All right, everyone. Bye for now. Have a great day.
You too. See you later. Thanks for having me.